an unreasonable delay by a party making a claim or bringing an action so the rights of said party are waived. Is that reversion, waiver, laches, or plottage? What do you guys
Ooh.
think?
All right. Renew said C.
Fine.
C. We got, now Terry says
Yeah.
waiver.
Mhm.
We got somebody said B, waiver. So this is, nope, the answer is C, laches. And it's basically saying, you waited too long.
Yeah.
It's related to the statute of limitations. The difference is, because I had to ask an attorney, the statute of limitations is built into the law, and the doctrine of laches is like when it wasn't built in the law, it's how they kind of figure out if it's too late for you to bring a claim. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know which one I like? Plottage. Plottage is one we don't do a lot, but plottage is like assemblage is when I take two lots and I assemble them into one bigger lot, right? And plottage is when by doing that I increase the value.
Yes.
Right. So if I bought two 1 acre lots, made them into one big lot, that's assemblage. It doesn't necessarily increase the value because sometimes people don't want the bigger lot, but if it does, then that's plottage. All right, next question, Miss Candyce.
The legal term, which means cause resulting in accomplishing a goal, used in determining whether a broker is entitled to a commission. So the cause resulting in accomplishing a goal used in determining whether the broker is entitled to a commission. Oh, and I see what Shanika said there. She said 1 + 1 is
Yeah, that was
3.
cute. That's why I was
Exactly.
laughing. Yeah.
That is cute. All right. I'm getting procuring cause. Is it turnkey, refinance, procuring call, or situs or situs? And it is procuring cause. Can anybody tell me what situs or situs is? What is situs or situs? I don't know how you want to say it. What's the other word for that? It's, you could be like the 3 most important words in real estate. They are location, location, location.
Right.
Exactly.
Whoop, whoop. Kind of on a theme with that tonight. An easement granted after someone has used or entered land for a long time and is given a legal right to continue to do so. Is it a pertinent easement? Easement by prescription? Easement by law? Or voluntary easement? Which one would it be?
Mm.
Remember that word appurtenant's important, guys. Remember, appurtenant runs with the land, stays with the property regardless of who owns it. But this one is easement by
Easement by prescription.
prescription. Times I have been doing it for a long time, and they've granted me the right to continue to do it. Open, hostile, adverse, all that stuff. I wasn't given permission.
Exactly. Whenever I
Oh,
think of a pertinent, I think of a paperclip. As something that's paperclipped to the land, it runs with it.
oh, that's a
Mhm,
good one.
mhm. All right. The effective interest return obtained from a first trust deed by an investor is known as. So, what is the effective interest return that you get if you're the investor on a first trust deed? Is it mortgage yield? Is it interest? Is it margin? Or is it effective gain? What say you? Got some A's. Got some A's. A. And there we go. Mortgage yield. Think of like when you bake cookies and it says, how many do these yield? It's what you get when you do something. It's the yield.
Alrighty. Let's see next. Laws enacted to promote free competition by prohibiting agreements to limit competition. And real property business, for example, setting a standard commission for all brokers to charge would be a violation. Is this antitrust laws, right to practice laws, equal opportunity laws, or fair housing laws? Which one would it be?
Oh, everybody
Anti.
seems to know that one. Antitrust laws.
That's I know constructive eviction, but confusing to at least by himself, or when the landlord does not do something. Usually it's when the landlord makes the property unlivable, so they have to move out, or in some cases, like say you're not paying me and I decide upon myself not to go to the courts and I throw all your clothes out in the alley and change the locks. That's another form of constructive eviction.
So, Renew, just so you know, like if a tenant just leaves, they basically abandon the property. And most states have laws about how long a landlord has to wait in order to prove that the person really truly abandoned it. Because let's say I take a month-long cruise. I mean, how do you know? You can't just say, "Oh, I wasn't there for a month. So did I not pay and I wasn't there for a certain amount of time?" That's usually when you're talking about like a tenant leaves for themselves. Every state's going to have different laws about, how long that is. Is there any different name for both? Not that constructive eviction. Not that I'm thinking of that I can hear off the top of my I can think of off the top of my head. And yes, Carolyn, I can hear Butters too, because Butters is the greatest. But let's do this one. A deed operating as a release intended to pass any title, interest, or claim, or which the grantor may have in the property, but not containing any warranty of a valid interest or title in the grantor. So in which deed do you basically say, here, it's yours, and that's all I'm promising you? Is it general warranty deed, special warranty deed, reconveyance deed, or a quit claim deed? Quit claim deed, you already knew that was the answers. What did you do to Butters? Is Butters dead? Oh my God.
No. He is hungry apparently, and when he decides he's hungry, there is no waiting. So right now he's eating a snack underneath the table.
Now this leads me to my favorite.
I'm bribing him to be quiet while we study. Any kind of burden on the property. Is it an easement, an encumbrance, a fixture, or a lien? Now be careful with this one, guys. It's any kind of burden.
Mm-hmm.
Any kind of burden. Yes, that's the encumbrance. So what could be some encumbrances? We could have liens. We could have easements. What else?
Encroachments.
Encroachments.
Restrictive covenants.
How would you know you got an encroachment? How would you know you had an encroachment? You would have a survey, right? Yeah, if you have an encroachment, you would have a survey done to prove it. All right.
We got one in the Q&A. What is somebody saying? So Erla asked, what is the main function of antitrust laws? Okay, so the main function of antitrust laws is to make sure that there's free and open trade. Or the best example is to make things somewhat fair. Like imagine if you went out after this today and you wanted to get gas and all the gas stations in your area all decided none of us are going to sell gas for less than $15 a gallon. Like that's not fair to, and I use the word fair very loosely there, but it's to stop that business just completely running out of control. So there you go.
You know what? We forgot to name off the 4 big things that got to remember for antitrust because Butters distracted me. So group boycotting. When I'm getting together with my fellow brokers, I say, I'm mad at Kandyce. Everybody, don't let Kandyce show your listings anymore. That would be an example of illegal group boycotting. You do one, Kandyce. What's another
Price fixing.
Mm-hmm. Like you were just saying, that's a good one. What
tie-in agreements?
Tie-in agreements. So like if I own a title company and a real estate brokerage and I say, if you sell your house with me, you got to close with my title company. I'm making somebody use it.
Mm-hmm.
Market allocation. You want to do market allocation?
Market allocation is when I say, look, I'm only going to do the north side of town and you're only going to do the south side of town. And we're not going to let people from the north use the south agent. And we're not going to let the people from the south use the north agent because you're not giving people choice on where they're going.
So a contract that may be voided but not void in itself is called voidus, voidable, executory, or void in.
I like void.
So this one I think
it's voidus.
Voidus. Yeah, I like the word voidus. Voidus is
not a word. It's a made up word.
I was going to say, what's something
from,
I don't know?
From Harry Potter. Like Harry Potter. Voidus.
So what are some things that can make a contract voidable, guys? What are some things that I could do? Like if I did something to Kandyce during the formation of the contract that made it voidable, duress. Yeah.
Duress.
Minor. Yeah.
Minor. There you go. A statement showing the income and expenses of a business over a stated time. Is it profit and loss statement, net differential statement, a revenue report, or a balance sheet? What say you? Okay, we got lots of, see, Jamie knows the lingo. She said a P&L, a profit and loss statement.
And the lender might ask a business for a P&L if they're trying to use their business income to qualify for a loan. You know, if you're self-employed, a lot of times they ask for your profit and loss. All right, an act intended to deceive another. Is it constructive fraud, negative fraud, actual fraud, or puffing? I'm trying to trick you. What is it called? That one would be our actual fraud. Or
Because they were doing it intentional. Intentionally is that word that you're gonna clue into. That's why it's actual fraud.
What about puffing? Candace, you want to do puffing? I love puffing.
Well, that's not legal in every state, Maria.
What?
Get it? Puffing? Puff, puff, pass?
Oh, I was like, wait, puffing?
You were a little slow.
I'm always a little slow on Monday night. Candace is so much ahead of me on her wit.
Exaggeration.
Talking.
It's exaggerating. So I could say this is the best view in town. That's my opinion. There's not like a view, contest that we actually know who's the best or, this
Mm.
something like that. So you're exaggerating.
What is the market value of real property minus the existing liens called? Is it equity, interest, homestead, or insurance? What do you guys
I
think?
don't know why that sounds like a song.
What?
Equity, interest, homestead, and insurance is something
Like a band from the 70s.
Oh my God, it does.
Tony Orlando and Dawn, equity, interest, homestead, insurance. Some of the young people are like, who the hell is Tony Orlando and Dawn? All right, next.
Personal property that is now real property as it is incorporated into the land. Is it chattel real? Is it ad valorem? Is it fixtures or is it an encumbrance? What do we have? We got C's, we got C's, we got C's. And it is fixtures. There you go. When you got personal property that becomes permanently attached to the real property, it is called a fixture. Now, here's a question for everybody. What is the name of the test that the courts use to figure out whether or not something is a fixture? Okay, so Maria is of course her name, but is also an acronym, Maria or Irma. But what's the actual name of it? Maria is the acronym for it. Method of attachment, adaptability. What does it stand for? What is the R? Maria, and relationship.
Relationship of the parties, right?
And intent. And what's the last A?
Oh my
Agreement. Thank you, Suzanne. Agreement. Thank you. Agreement. Now, guys, I asked you what the actual name is. It's called the total circumstances test. The total circumstances test. They're looking at the entire circumstance, not just, is it attached, but what other circumstances are going on in it? Let's look at the whole big picture. Total circumstances test. Right? Great. Was this mine or yours?
I think this was mine. I can't remember. The right to use land of another for a specific purpose, such as a right of way for utilities, is an easement, estate, injunction, or escheat. Now, one thing that we want to talk about here is what kind of easement is it when we're talking about right of way for utilities, though?
I know. It's an easement and gross. There's two types of easements.
Easement and encumbrances today. Like I've talked about that all day in tutoring. I don't know why.
Really?
Deeds and title and property transfer was like my theme of the day today, which is so I usually talk more about financing.
I think I did a lot of study plans today. Like,
where
are some ways for me to study better so I'm catching on? So,
yeah. All right, you're up.
An appraisal term stating that the general uniformity of structures in an area produces the highest value. Why are they yelling at me? Principle of conformity, principle of contribution, principle of stagnation, and principle of highest and best use. Okay, we got A's, principle of conformity. It is the principle of conformity. The principle of stagnation is like stagnant. It's not moving. That's not a thing that I know of. Have you ever heard of principle of stagnation? No.
You want to do principle of contribution, though? That one is the thing.
Yes, I love the principle of contribution. It's this idea that if something has value, you can do things to add more value, but up to a point. You can only put so much lipstick on a pig. So if you have like a shack, it doesn't matter if you put a pool in the backyard, it's only going to add but so much value. So if you had a $500,000 house and you had a shack, adding the pool is not going to add as much value to the shack as it did to the $500,000 house. So it's all kind of relative.
Let's see. Principle of change. Let's do that one. Principle of change is the principle that the value
Everything in life changes, including
right?
value.
That's why we have when the appraiser says the value is good for today,
Mhm.
the lender's still going to take that appraisal as the value 2 weeks from now, probably. But what he's saying is tomorrow a hurricane can come blow this house away and it might change the value that he's stated completely, right?
Exactly.
All right. A professional responsibility to act truthfully and with good faith when you're representing a client. Title agents, bankers, and real estate agents all take on this responsibility of old car. Agent obligation, broker code, fiduciary duty, or agency, and it is fiduciary duty.
So we had another question in the chat if you want to roll back.
Where was it? When we use
And
highest use
Yep.
is
So highest and best use isn't just for one. She asked, when do we use highest and best use?
for cost approach. I
Yeah,
get it.
it's not just for the cost approach. It's the idea that when an appraiser appraises any property, they're going to look at the highest and best use when they decide, hey, should I use the cost approach, the market data approach, the income approach? That they're looking at the highest and best use to make that decision.
Mhm.
All right, a contract formed by the actions of the parties rather than by their written or oral agreement. Is that a voidable contract, a void contract, an express contract, or an implied contract? What are you saying? We got D's, got a couple C's, we got D. But the answer is implied. And that is because it says rather than written and expressly stated. Like if I say something or I write something, I mean, I've said it. There's no question about it. That's express. Implied is from the actions. It's like you hinted about it.
Mhm.
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
Movable objects which are not considered real estate, where they be land, fixtures, personal property, or real property, and bonus points if you can think of another word for this.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
So,
2
yes,
words.
the answer is C, personal property. And
Yes.
oh, there you all go, chattel. You know it.
Wow.
Look
Yes,
at these
yes.
geniuses. I love it.
Let's see. Here we go. Oh, I like this
And
word.
oh, I do too. Annual crops produced for sale are known as appurtenances, emblements, easements, or I was going to say adobe. So,
Adobe's like the little houses in the desert, you
I
think?
mean, yeah, that's what I think they mean, but I just think of Photoshop, Illustrator, PDFs. What can I say?
Implements. You know what's funny? The other day, I was doing a tutoring session with somebody, and I was trying to think of a implement. I was like, "Oh, like tobacco," and she was like, "Is that a plant?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's like
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
it is the plant."
It is a plant. It grows a lot here in North Carolina.
Yeah, it grows a lot in Kentucky and Ohio. But
Okay.
okay, guys, what about the other word, easements? If I gave Candace an easement to use my driveway, would I be the dominant or the servient tenement? Candace is using my driveway in this easement.
Good question.
Yeah, I'm serving her piece of property. She would be the dominant one. I would be the servient one. All right.
Exactly.
Boom. Next. There you go, Candace.
An opinion not made as a representation of fact, but intended to enhance the value of the property. Is it progression, puffing, reversion, or amenating?
We are getting all the made up words tonight. What the
I
heck?
know, amenating. It sounds like somebody's name.
You know what I want to say, and I have not pointed out. Listen how much better Candace sounds this week, y'all. Did you see? She's back to normal Candace voice.
Almost. It's still a little rough
Oh, I
because I
like
had to teach 8 hours on Saturday again. So it's a little rough, but I do sound better. Praise baby Jesus.
it. All right. A written declaration by a person executing an instrument given before an officer authorized to give an oath, stating that the execution is of his own volition. Volition's another good word. What do you guys think on this one? What do you guys
Waiver,
think?
affirmation, ratification, or acknowledgement.
If I'm signing it before a notary, it's acknowledgement, right? If I'm acknowledging something, oh, bonus points. Here's one for you. If I'm at the closing table and I'm swearing I'm the seller and I'm swearing that I haven't added any new debt since they ran the title search,
Mm.
right? What am I signing there?
Ooh.
Candace. Oh, we might have stumped him on that.
I want to see if they get it.
There, Carolyn got it. Yes, an affidavit, right?
I was going to say, that's a good, like, I want to be really impressed, Carolyn.
That's
I'm
a
not
tricky
impressed.
one.
I'm impressed. It is. An
Yeah.
affidavit. An affidavit is when you're swearing that, hey, I didn't or I did do something. That's an affidavit.
So why would they do that, you guys? Why would, as a seller, I be asked to sign that affidavit of title? And that's something that if you're in a round table closing state like we have in Ohio, where everybody sits around and we make a little party of it, you would see the seller being asked to sign the affidavit of title. What is he swearing to there? For example, if I was buying Candace's house and they ran a title search today and we closed on the 31st, if Candace goes crazy and puts a bunch of liens on the house between now and the 31st, we wouldn't know necessarily. We don't rerun it. So she's swearing that she did not do that badness.
So the
All right.
sellers usually, if it's all a round table closing, they're signing a deed, they're signing a lien waiver, like, and that lien waiver is the affidavit. Like, I promise that there are no new liens going to pop up. And if some do, it's my problem. I will fix it. You don't have to fix it.
Do you guys do round table closings in North Carolina, or do you? Yeah.
We are not a escrow state.
In Virginia, they don't have them sign at the same time, and that was always weird to me.
Well, you know, in North Carolina, sometimes people, both the buyer and the seller, will come, and sometimes it's just the buyer. But of course, we don't have escrow like in California. You don't have a clause in a blanket mortgage, which gives the property owner the right to pay off a portion of the indebtedness, thereby freeing a portion of his property from the mortgage. Is it an acceleration clause? Is it the opened-end clause? Is it the subordination clause, or is it the release clause? What say you?
So, yeah, the release clause. So, blanket mortgage. Somebody asked about blanket mortgage. So, if I have a bunch of different parcels of property that I want to use as collateral for one big loan, that's a blanket mortgage. So, like if I owned 5 building lots and I wanted to take out one big loan on it, that would be a blanket mortgage. Yeah. All right. Next up is Candace with this one.
Where a real estate broker mixes their personal funds with those of a client is illegal. Is it a sheet? Is it quiet title action? Is it commingling, or is it conversion? Okay, y'all knew, you were quick with that one. C.
Commingling. What about when I spend your money? Conversion, right? A listing or agreement protecting the listing broker's commission against the sale of the property by another agent, but not against the sale by the principal. So let me read that one more time. A listing or agreement protecting the listing broker's commission against the sale of the property by another agent, but not against the sale by the principal. Is it net listing, exclusive right to sell, open listing, or exclusive agency? We have told them this so many times now. They are like, oh, I know this one, right? We are good with this one. You don't even have to explain. Everybody's good on that one. All right,
one
Candace.
more?
One more.
A contract under which there is still to be performance is known as an executed contract, an executory, or, well, now I can't say it any other way, but executory contract, oral contract, or void contract. That's right. It's executory contract. Woo, woo.
I always say, like, when somebody gets executed, this is kind of morbid, but if somebody gets executed, they're dead. It's done. It's over, right?
Okay, that is morbid. I like it. I'm going to use it. I like that one.
Yeah. But I remember it that way because executed is dead. It's done. It's over.
That is a very Candace way to remember it.